Rock and roll, a genre brimming with energy and attitude, didn't appear out of thin air. Its roots run deep into the soulful sounds of blues and the infectious rhythms of rhythm and blues. The blues, born from the African-American experience in the American South, provided the raw emotion, the bending notes, and the deeply personal storytelling that would become hallmarks of rock. Rhythm and blues, with its upbeat tempos and danceable grooves, injected a sense of youthful energy and rebellion into the mix. These two genres, often played in clubs and on radio stations aimed at African-American audiences, laid the groundwork for a musical revolution. In the 1950s, as America emerged from the shadow of World War II, a new generation craved a sound that reflected their own experiences and desires. They found it in the electrifying fusion of blues and rhythm and blues, amplified and given a rebellious edge. This new sound, dubbed rock and roll, became synonymous with youthful energy, breaking down social barriers and pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable. It was raw, it was passionate, and honestly, it was impossible to ignore. Rock and roll's early pioneers took the raw ingredients of blues and rhythm and blues and added their own unique flavors. Chuck Berry's infectious guitar riffs and storytelling lyrics, Elvis Presley's hip-shaking stage presence and soulful vocals, and Little Richard's flamboyant performances and pounding piano playing all contributed to the genre's explosive rise. Radio played a crucial role in spreading the music across the nation, exposing teenagers of all backgrounds to its infectious energy. As rock and roll gained popularity, it faced its share of criticism and controversy. Some decried it as the devil's music, fearing its potential to corrupt the youth. Others saw it as a threat to the established social order, challenging racial segregation and traditional values. But for the young generation embracing it, rock and roll was an anthem of freedom, a celebration of individuality, and a powerful form of self-expression. The story of rock and roll is one of constant evolution, a musical journey marked by innovation, rebellion, and an unwavering connection with the spirit of the times. Let's take a trip through the decades, highlighting some of the pivotal moments that shaped this ever-evolving genre. The 1950s, the birth of a revolution. In 1951, Rocket 88 by Jackie Brenston and his Delta Cats, often cited as the first rock and roll record, is released. By 1954, Elvis Presley's That's All Right bursts onto the scene, marking a turning point in popular music. Then, in 1955, Chuck Berry's Maybelline electrifies audiences with its infectious guitar riffs and youthful energy. The 1960s, from surf rock to the British invasion. In the early 1960s, surf rock, spearheaded by artists like the Beach Boys and Dick Dale, captures the carefree spirit of California. By 1964, the Beatles take America by storm, ushering in the British invasion and influencing countless artists to come. And in the late 1960s, psychedelic rock emerges, fueled by experimentation with mind-altering drugs and Eastern musical influences. In the 1970s, hard rock, punk, and the birth of new wave. In the early 1970s, hard rock bands like Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple pushed the boundaries of volume and intensity. By the mid-1970s, punk rock explodes onto the scene, rejecting the perceived excesses of mainstream rock with its raw energy and DIY ethos. And in the late 1970s, new wave emerges, incorporating elements of punk, electronic music, and art pop. The 1980s and beyond, hair metal, grunge, and beyond. In the early 1980s, hair metal dominates MTV, with bands like Van Halen, Motley Crue, and Def Leppard embracing a glamorous and theatrical style. By the early 1990s, grunge, led by Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden, brings a raw and angst-ridden sound to the forefront. And in the late 1990s and beyond, rock continues to evolve and diversify, with subgenres like pop-punk, nu metal, and indie rock gaining popularity. Rock and roll isn't just a genre, it's a feeling, a rebellion, and a way to ignite the soul. So, how do you go about writing a rock and roll song? Let's break it down. First, let's talk about topics. Rock and roll lyrics often embody freedom, love, heartbreak, defiance, or the thrill of living fast. Whether it's a tale of a restless spirit or an ode to a wild night, the key is to keep it raw and relatable. Now, onto the music. Rock and roll is typically written in major or minor keys, with E major and A major being especially popular due to their natural compatibility with the guitar's tuning. The classic 12-bar blues progression is a staple, but don't be afraid to experiment with power chords and open chords to give your song that unmistakable rock edge. Modes like Mixolydian can add a bluesy, rebellious vibe, while tempos often range from a steady 120 BPM for a classic groove to 140 BPM or faster for an energetic head-banging anthem. When it comes to the sound, equipment plays a crucial role. To get that iconic rock and roll tone, start with a solid electric guitar, something like a Gibson Les Paul or Fender Stratocaster. Pair it with a tube amplifier like a Marshall or Fender Twin Reverb. For amp settings, dial up the gain for crunch, keep the mids prominent for warmth, and fine-tune the treble and bass to suit your style. Pedals can take your tone to the next level. A good overdrive or distortion pedal is essential for a gritty sound. Add some reverb for depth and maybe a touch of delay to give your riffs a spacious, epic feel. For solos, consider a wah pedal to inject some expressive flair. Finally, don't forget the energy. Rock and roll isn't just heard, it's felt. Write with passion, play with conviction, and channel your inner rebel. After all, rock and roll is about breaking the rules and creating something unforgettable. And there you have it, the blueprint for crafting the soundtrack of rebellion. So grab your guitar, turn up the volume, and let your creativity roar. Rock on.